And we're live.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and happy Friday Eve. This is the Pillar One Advisory Committee, and in collaboration with the Accountability Implementation Board, we're actively working to increase the frequency of our meetings. I know a lot of the private sector are saying that we don't have enough representation, and we're trying our best to include everyone in this space. Our commitment extends to not only organizing more gatherings, but also ensuring the inclusion of essential stakeholders from Pillar One. Tonight, we are honored to have esteemed guest speakers joining us from various counties, namely, the Baltimore City is not here, but Beth Sorsby from Charles County is here, Leslie Fry and Kathy Allen from Frederick County, and Kelly Hall from St. Mary's County. Our aim for tonight is to gain insight into the incredible programs, support, and resources available in each respective county. We would also like to hear about the Judy Center and the supports available for families. During this session, our guest speakers will share program highlights, shed light on challenges faced, and offer valuable recommendations. As we embark in this discussion, please keep in mind that the ultimate decision made by the AIB will be centered on what is deemed best for the state of Maryland. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and we look forward to a fruitful exchange of ideas and information. And I'm going to start with the introduction. My name is Ruby Daniels. I am the chair and the president of Maryland State Family Child Care Association, and I have a new background. I hope you like it. And Dr. Miller will follow me. She is my co-chair, and my wonderful team will follow after her. So just pass on to the next advisory committee, Dr. Miller.
All right. Good evening. Dr. Rainier Miller, Managing Partner of the Consortium of Accomplished Educators. Happy to be here. I would like to go ahead and pass that. But before I pass it, Rachel, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
In your introduction, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We really appreciate the efforts that you guys have made to increase our ability to hear from people around the state and from many perspectives. I want to just give one little plug to the Pillar One and the work happening in Pillar One, and then do the quick introductions again. I think it'll fit here well. In the last 2 months, we've had several collaborations with many agencies representing all of the work underway in Pillar One. Many of the people on this call and many of the groups that you referenced earlier that are eager to have a voice and to help make this work. And we are in the process of submitting the required joint chairman's report that looks at alternative quality requirements and structural elements that was required of the AIB. The final report will be published very soon on our website, but I just want to give a shout out to everybody because it was truly a collaborative effort to get this document done, and the voices of many people were heard and perspectives were shared, and it led to some good ideas. So collaboration is happening, and we really, really appreciate people reaching out and telling us, hey, I've got something to say. And then Ruby and Advisory Committee One, your intentionality in pulling in voices and helping uplift ideas, concerns, challenges, so we can move the work forward. So I just want to give a plug that it's hard. There's a lot of moving pieces, but good work is happening. And thank you to everybody involved with the Pillar One efforts.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. I mean, we couldn't have done it without the committee and the support of the AIB. I know it's very challenging. We're very needy, and especially me, but you have always supported us. Thank you.
All right, I'll throw it to Gina.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Gina Hoover. I am the Early Learning Lead Teacher for Washington County Public Schools and also on the Pillar One Advisory Committee, and I'm happy to be here with you all, and welcome to our guests.
Do you want to pass it on to someone?
Sure, Linda.
Hi there, I'm Linda Gronberg-Quinn. I'm the Department Chair of Teacher Education at the Community College of Baltimore County, and also have the honor of serving on this committee. And then I'm looking at who do I send it to next. I am so sorry. My What
Sakshi.
I'm seeing is not the usual where we see the Brady Bunch. So I apologize. Who do I throw it to next?
Sakshi.
Oh, okay. Sakshi, hi there.
Hi, I'm Sakshi Torodkar, and I'm a 10th grader at Long Beach High School in Howard County, Maryland.
Okay, you're fourth year high school, right, Sakshi?
Second year of high school.
Oh, second year. Oh, welcome. Yeah, thank you. Do you want to pass it on to our guest, or do you want to?
I will pass it to Leslie.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Leslie Fry. I'm the supervisor of early childhood education and Judy Centers in Frederick County Public Schools. I'll pass it to my partner, Kathy.
Thanks, Leslie. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here tonight. I'm Kathy Allen. I'm coordinator of early childhood and the Judy Centers in Frederick County Public Schools, and I will pass it on to Kelly.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kelly Hall. I'm from St. Mary's County Public Schools. I'm the Chief of Equity, Engagement, and Early Access. And so under my umbrella, I have a lot of federal programs like Title I, but I also have early childhood and the Judy Centers. So really primarily it's pre-K and the Judy Centers. That's my role with Pillar 1 and childcare, certainly. Happy to be here. And I'm going to pass it to Beth, my neighbor.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Beth Sorsby, and I am the specialist in early childhood for Charles County Public Schools.
Thank you, everyone. I think that's everyone. So Dr. Miller, do you want to recap last meeting when we had November 9th, when we had Chris Bush, Carolina Reyes, Lisa Butchie, Wendy Dingus, and Bill Hudson?
Yes, so I did a brief recap, so I won't go into every single detail. We started with talking about enrollment requirements, how they need to be possibly adjusted, chronic absenteeism rates, how they impact enrollment, and students. Oh my goodness, that just lost me. And then we talked about our community partnerships. So we want to be successful. We need a better system for community partners to fund their programs, and that this would increase participation. We reviewed the Aspire Pre-K program, and some of the data was that they increased their program to 50 funded programs, so over 200 children will be served. There are still challenges between the private providers and public systems because of the differences between, of course, home care and public school, and that the family care, they need a lot of support as they go through the process. They need more information that explains the blueprint and the implications that they will have to be following or be in compliance with to participate. They need grant assistance. There was a suggestion that if they could be a grant manager as a paid position, that would improve the successful grant applications and participation. We talked about grant payments, how processing payments, the timeline is a challenge because the money doesn't come in time. Or they also talked about, well, not scholarships, but support with that, but it still is not timely. We shared, sharing of public curriculum and resources would be a great strategy for collaboration. We talked about that. And I recorded us talking about support for ELL providers. They really need a lot of support for them and for their students because of language barriers. She also talked about accepting previously received certifications and degrees, a way to manage that transfer of information. And that is our recap.
Thank you. That is wonderful. Yeah. The last one was the alternative pathways that we want to create. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rachel, did the AIB say they were going to do a study? I know that was in one of our discussion. Instead of a study, to just go ahead and find ways to to implement the alternative pathways so more programs will get certified, or more teachers will get certified, increasing the workforce.
Correct. Excellent connection. That is all. I was like smiling as you were rereading what we talked about just last month, and many of those things that Dr. Miller just read ended up in the recommendations of the Joint Chairman's report. So it is almost ready to be mailed, and we can get a copy and share it with Advisory One as well. But I just really want you to know that we heard what was shared, and we were able to incorporate that feedback into that report, which sets a potential path for next steps to address these things. And the teams that were involved collaborated to identify, how do we do that? What is the alternative? What are we recommending? And so, yes, that is all moving forward. And your feedback last month was incredibly instrumental. The voices that we heard in identifying those, to include the work group session that we had, the early childhood convening, I think in October, and the breakout rooms that a few committee members helped us facilitate. That collaboration is what generated the recommendations. So we'll get you a copy as soon as maybe Monday, to see where all that landed and what the potential next steps are. And just to clarify one piece, the Joint Chairman's report was an additional requirement added last year in the legislative session that required the AIB to dig into this, to explore and understand. And obviously we can't do that without our partners at MSDE. And so Dr. Cook was instrumental with that. And the convening pulled together, I think 50 or so people representing public and private, and really giving us some examples, raising some questions, offering suggestions. I don't remember all the breakout rooms, but we looked at people coming with prior experience. We looked at English language learners. We looked at a lot of barriers that are impeding people from getting into the early childhood workforce. And then also the challenges that are happening for our private providers in joining, and how we can help alleviate that. And so we'll get you that copy very soon.
Oh, thank you. Busy. Yeah.
Good stuff. All good stuff. But the feedback, I can't overstate how helpful the collaborative impact of the feedback from around the many different situations that pre-K looks like. You know, it's different in every setting. Yeah. So it was very helpful.
Thank you. Linda or Gina or Sakshi?
I don't know that I have anything to add to the conversation. Gina, Sakshi?
No, I think like you all said, it's just continuing to build these partnerships and think about how we can, they're all our children, no matter if they're public, private, or anywhere in between. So just figuring out how we can all best meet the needs of our early learners. And so no, I think you guys wrapped it up really well.
Oh, thank you. Sakshi, what is your perspective as a second year high school student? Are you getting excited about this blueprint, about the pre-K and all the wonderful things that's happening in Maryland?
Yeah, no, like last meeting was my first meeting, so I actually felt like I learned a lot that I had no idea about before. So I had to do a little bit of my own research as soon as the meeting was over. But I did figure out like a lot of things, like a lot of the issues that you guys discussed, like the funding issues, and like the lack of qualified teachers that need like more bachelor's degrees, and just building more pathways so that private providers don't have to go public. Like these are a lot of issues that I had no idea that we needed to face, but I look forward to working with you all to help resolve these issues and make a better blueprint.
Yes, thank you so much. Happy to have a fresh perspective and from the future coming into the Pillar One. Thank you. So we're excited to have our guest speaker, and I'm just gonna look in the agenda, and I guess the first one that we have would be Charles County. Beth, if you want to speak about what's happening in Charles County, and that's where Dr. Miller is also from. So happy to connect everyone.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I put together just a couple of brief slides so that I could keep my thoughts together. So I'm going to be sharing for Charles County Public Schools. So we began the expansion of pre-kindergarten in the 2018-2019 school year when we started converting additional pre-K classrooms from half-day programs to full-day programs. And last school year, the 22-23 school year, all CCPS pre-K 4-year-old programs were full-day programs and are continuing to be full-day programs. This school year, we opened the Early Learning Center in La Plata, which gave us 5 additional pre-K classrooms. And next school year, we are planning on converting our transition school to the Early Learning Center Waldorf, which will add additional full-day pre-K slots. We are also working on having all of our pre-K programs either achieve or maintain Maryland accreditation and a Maryland Excels rating of level 4 or higher. And we are also offering cohorts for our instructional assistants who are working toward obtaining the Child Development Associate or the CDA. A little bit about some of the family engagement that's going on in Charles County. We are currently offering early childhood story hours, which are held once a month at 5 elementary schools, and they're at different points across our county. These are geared toward children ages 2 to 5 and their caregiver. They focus on school readiness skills. It is in collaboration with the Charles County Public Library, and there are resources shared with families. We also have our Ready Set School bilingual group. This group meets twice a month at the Waldorf West Library. Resources are offered in English and in Spanish. The first session in the month focuses on literacy, and the second session in the month focuses on math. And this is done in collaboration with our Infants and Toddlers program, the Judy Center Early Learning Hub, the CCPS ESOL Department, and the Charles County Public Library. We also have an event that is held each spring. Last year was the first year we were able to do it in person, and we're excited to be offering it in person again this year. It's our early learning launch. This is held in April around the time the pre-K application and kindergarten registration opens. We have community resources, different agencies that work with early childhood represented there to share information with families. Every family that attends leaves with a school readiness kit. And there's also an opportunity to get support with completing the pre-K application or kindergarten registration. And we have school readiness stations that are led by Charles County Public Schools teachers and instructional assistants. For supporting childcare providers, we've in the past offered information sessions for childcare providers on the pre-K grant applications. We sent out a childcare provider survey last spring to see what some of the needs of the childcare providers were. We offered a conscious discipline e-course for childcare providers in the summer of 2023. We did this in conjunction with the Charles County Early Childhood Advisory Council. And we also offered a 2-hour in-person training with conscious discipline this past August. We are working on planning additional professional development offerings for childcare providers in the late winter, early spring. Our Title I office offers additional opportunities for childcare providers who operate in or serve students who live within a Title I school zone. This includes offering core of knowledge hours for training sessions, and also offering technical assistance, consultation, feedback, resources, and materials to achieve or maintain Maryland Excels or Maryland accreditation. We also have are working with the Maryland Family Child Care Alliance with their Aspire program, as we have a couple of providers in Charles County participating in that. And then Charles County Public Schools also participates in the Charles County Early Childhood Advisory Council, also known as ECAC.
Mm-hmm.
Our Judy Centers focus on family engagement, providing family engagement for families with children ages birth to 5 years old who are not enrolled in a school program. They're currently providing daytime and evening programming. Families can choose either a daytime program or an evening program. And the evening programming just began this past October, which was in response to a survey that the Judy Center did, where parents were requesting additional evening opportunities. So some of the daytime opportunities include the TAP Cafe for tots and parents ages birth to 18 months. There's a toddler time play group for 18 months to 3 years old, a pre-K prep group for children ages 3 to 5, Power Tots in My Gym, which is a multi-age gross motor group, and Kinder Music, which is a multi-age music class. The evening programming includes story time, My Gym opportunities, and Squiggles and Wiggles, which is an art and music class. The Judy Center Early Learning Hub also provides child care provider support. So our Judy Center is currently partnering with 6 center-based providers, including Head Start and 1 family provider through an MOU. In FY24, the Judy Center is providing 2 to 3 PD opportunities, which includes Kinder Music and Conscious Discipline, where the providers receive the training for free and materials to accompany the training. The Judy Center is also in the process of offering behavior support services through their full-time behavior support specialists, and they are currently supporting 1 center provider with this service. So those are some of the happenings in Charles County. Thank you.
Wow, that is amazing. That's a lot. I like how there's like partnership between the public and the private, and how you connect the Judy Center with the community-based programs, which is amazing. We want to hear more of those, So thank you so much, Beth, and that is really an amazing presentation. So I forgot to mute my phone. So next in our agenda is Kelly Hall from St. Mary's, your neighbor. Would like to hear about the wonderful program of St. Mary's.
Hi, thank you. I actually have been out sick for a few days, so I don't have a PowerPoint, Beth. Yours was beautiful, but I will try and provide a very coherent response to what we're doing. So in St. Mary's County, we are focusing our service in pre-kindergarten to 4-year-olds. So all 4-year-old programs are full day. They are staffed with a certified teacher and 2 credentialed paraeducators. And the 2 paraeducators help us make sure that we are meeting our negotiated agreement. And it also helps us to ensure that we have the proper supervision to meet the child care requirements. So there are always 2 adults with 20 students always. It also just makes sure that our children who are coming from often economically disadvantaged situations have the time and attention they need to be successful. So we do have a support system in place to help folks with CDAs, but in all honesty, we are really saying it may be in your best interest to get an associate's degree or higher. I see the Linda from the community college nodding her head. Many of our folks are choosing to do that. Also, when you're in a Title I school, there's some disparities between what is allowable in a Title I school and what is allowable in pre-kindergarten. And, our Title I schools require a parapro, and a memo just came out from MSDE about this, a passing score on a parapro, an associate's, a bachelor's or higher. So a CDA is fine for Maryland, but it doesn't really meet the criteria for the federal regulation. Many of our folks were saying, you can get both, we can help you get both. But really, this is where an associate's really serves you best. So we're working through that. But again, if people want to do the CDA, we help them through that process. So we have a series of parent-family engagement opportunities. Many of them are conscious discipline, in-person and virtual. And we complete a needs assessment to let the parents tell us what they want to hear and learn about. Number one request, bedtime battles. So that really has been, backed by popular demand. That's what we're doing. We work collaboratively with our childcare providers. Right now, we don't have anybody eligible for the blueprint, and that's okay. We're working together. I think Beth said it beautifully. They are our partners. We share children. What we really want to do is just work together. We have always included them in our professional development for our staff. We have always included them in our parent-family engagement. But as we were looking at why are they not participating consistently, myself and some other members of my leadership team sat down with our childcare leadership and said, what's the barrier? What's the obstacle? And surprisingly, it was not unlike what our schools said. We can't get subs. We can't make it in there. Okay, would it help? The next question, if we move things to the evenings for you? Absolutely. So in the last 7 weeks, we've done 3 workshops. We've done foundational science of reading. We've done foundational mathematics. And tomorrow we're doing grant writing 101. And I believe I heard from Dr. Miller there, or maybe it was Rachel, I'm not sure, that there was a lot of concern about grants. They're afraid of that. We write a lot of grants. So that's tomorrow. That one is during the day because it was a Friday and all of our childcare providers said we're not coming on a Friday night and we really don't want to do it on a Friday night. But what that one shift to the evening has done, we've gone to 15 people, where before we might have 3 or 4. Now we've got 15 childcare providers. Our goal, our shared vision with our private providers is that the school system will continue with 4s. And at a certain point when they feel they're ready and we'll support them as much as we can, they would take the 3-year-olds. And we really believe collectively that the school system has a good handle on the 4s, but the 3-year-olds' developmental needs may be better met in a childcare that's high quality. So that we stand together on, and we're continuing to work together. Again, we don't want to pressure anyone. We want to support them. And it really wasn't a big deal once we understood, hey, would it help if we did these opportunities for you in the evening? And that just made a huge difference. So little change, but it really required a relationship to sit down and talk and say, how can we help? So that's pretty much where we are. Our Judy Center, we have 3 Judy Centers. We're really proud of that. We have 3 Judy Centers, and yet we're on the smaller side of a school system. But they work with the childcare providers that are eligible for them to do so. And there's been some changes with that, and that's frustrated some of our folks. What we tried to do was kind of wrap in and say, come to our workshops, come here, because we're not looking at whether you can be connected with the Judy Center or not. But we have such a strong relationship with our Judy Center and our families that if they say, hey, this would be a great opportunity for you, the families or the childcare providers will come. Same with our families. So we just work together. We try and wrap as much care as we can. Our full day implementation is going well. That doesn't mean it's not without hiccups, but this is our 2nd year of going full day, everybody. And this year has been a lot easier than last year, I can say that. So that's St. Mary's County.
Oh, that is amazing, Kelly. Thank you so much. And I like the idea of grant writing. Like Dr. Miller was saying, that is a challenge, especially for family childcare, because we're not grant writers, and a lot of it would be also a language issue for certain providers. Do you And I like that you're doing an evening and making like special accommodations so more people will be able to participate. Um, and what are your action on informing the families about the pre-K availability or the blueprint? Because like for me, the reason why I got the award, I guess, in Howard County is because there's 0 3-year-old, full day 3-year-old. And my program is the only one that's offering the full day 3-year-old. It's because yeah, you're right. That is, they're better off in a small setting. And so maybe what are your what do you think are the best plan for St. Mary's in order to move towards that and get more programs, private programs qualified in the pre-K?
I'm not quite sure that I follow your question. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, well, like for me in Howard County, we don't have any 3-year-old, full day 3-year-old. And
Right.
when I was accepted in the grant, I am the only one that's offering the full day 3-year-old. That's why now we have a full day 3-year-old. Before we had 0 in our county. So I'm sure it would be the same in St. Mary's. You would have 0 full day 3-year-old programs, right? Now, what are your plans and how will you get some of these providers, the centers or the family childcare to participate and provide at least that portion that need of the St. Mary's County?
Well,
And-
that's a complicated question. And a very point well taken. We don't have 3-year-olds that are 3-year-old programs that are offering. We don't have any eligible private providers. And right now, the feedback we get from our private providers is there is some reluctance. And I heard some of that coming out, whether it's a lack of confidence, not knowing how to write a grant. We're trying to work through that. But at the end of the day, we can't make another adult do anything that they're not ready to do.
Yeah.
So what we've tried to do is strengthen an already positive relationship to say, come and participate in our professional development, and you can see what are the materials we're using. What does foundational science of reading actually mean with 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds, with the littles, so that they start to feel comfortable. I know when we got ready to do grant writing 101, and it's all fresh in my mind for tomorrow, we sat down again with the leadership, and here were the questions. What's an evidence of need? Like, how do I write that? They're asking that. My personal favorite, because I felt the same way, the first grant I ever got is, what's a C125? What are we supposed to do? So they really need hand-over-hand modeling. And that's what we're going to do for them. But at the end of the day, we can encourage, we can support, but we really can't force them to do what they're not ready to do. But we do want them to know that they won't go through this alone. We'll be standing right there with them.
So that is one of the biggest fear when we saw the C125.
Yes.
If you look at that budget, we're saying we don't have all these things that they're looking for, but apparently it's only one line item for us, which is the community service. So that was a relief when they said, oh no, the others, they don't concern you. It's just, you just fill out one line item, which is the community service.
Well, Ruby and Kelly, you guys just really highlighted a huge example of a hiccup, a holdup, a challenge that you unearthed earlier in October and is going to come up as a recommendation that statewide we need to look at our districts who have been able to stand up some full day 3-year-old programs, which we have some examples. We also need to look, Ruby, at what you're doing. What was the experience? How do we encourage? How do we help? How do we fill the gaps? How do we translate grant language to what needs to be turned in, what do we need to do? I can both thank you for raising those points and then also for convening these groups. We're learning more about what's happening where. As a follow-up to the meeting last month, I was contacted by somebody who heard us say, reach out. And they've asked us and given us some pointers on needs that would be helpful for them with communication tools. So we're going to work on those and create them for a statewide thing to be able to share with people. So as you're finding these programs and as you're experiencing this, whether you're talking to us now or you're listening to the live stream, let us know what you need. And MSDE, AIB, all of the partners, we're all committed to this. Our youngest learners, when we get this solved, we've established the foundation for Blueprint to move forward. We start advancing on all of our goals. So I think, Ruby, your question was a tough question because it's the hard thing. It's what we have to do, but we're chipping away at it. And Kelly, your answer was spot on. And I really appreciate the thinking and the sharing. And I trust that there's people listening that are in different counties all across the state going, oh, hey, we just got some really fabulous ideas. And oh, we can do that. This is what starts the snowball rolling to become success. So thank you both. Keep asking the tough questions. Keep facilitating the sharing.
Fingers crossed for the grant writing 101 tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Just give me a call if you need some help or some ideas because I've been through it.
Okay.
And that Gina last time has helped providers as well. So we're building experts who can share strategies and tips. And we can translate these. I have no idea talking about this other form. So we can make these translations and help people see that it's not as bad as it looks and it's doable. We can do it together.
If I can do it, other people can because I'm not that great. So the next, I guess, thank you so much, Kelly. That is really wonderful. Next, we want to hear from Frederick County. I was talking to them. They have some amazing program and amazing Judy Center stuff. Leslie and Kathy?
Sure, thanks. Ruby, you had given me 3 minutes, so I'm going to set my timer and see if I can adhere to that. There's too much to say in 3 minutes, but I'm going to try. So I kind of broke this down by strengths, challenges, and then any asks that we may have. So when we talk about Frederick County Public Schools, we experienced 10% growth in the past 3 years. We're the fastest growing county in the state of Maryland. I think our next closest are our friends in Carroll County that grew by about 2%. So we are already dealing with some pretty major spacing issues and capacity issues in Frederick County Public Schools while pre-K expansion comes along. So our first full day pre-K classroom in FCPS was in 2016 with the pre-K expansion grant. This year we had 71 full day pre-K classrooms with 20 students each. We're at about 1,300 full day 4-year-olds in our schools. We're in 34 elementary schools. All of our 4-year-olds are full day. So we were able to convert some of our inclusion special education classrooms last year to be full day. So now every child in Frederick County, regardless of disability or any language barriers that qualifies by income, has access to a full day of pre-K. For the overwhelming large majority of them, it is in their home districted school. All of our classrooms have students with special needs in them. We work with special ed to make 2 holds in every one of our traditional classrooms for students with IEPs. And then our inclusion settings have 16 students. 50% of them are students with developmental disabilities, and the other 8 children are income qualifying peers. So did a lot of work to bridge those programs. That has brought some challenges for us, but let me finish with our strengths before I move to challenges. We know that our children are outperforming their peers in DIBELS in the beginning of kindergarten. Children that are accessing a full day of pre-K are performing 12 to 20% stronger on that beginning of year DIBELS indicator than their non-pre-K peers. And we see a lot of similar data on our kindergarten readiness assessment. So we know that our full day pre-K programs work. We have the data to back that up. We have a very large central office team in early childhood, and I really think that's how we've been able to hold up with this pretty immense growth in the amount of grants that we hold in our office. Our chief academic officer has been very serious about early childhood and got on the train a couple years ago with what was coming with Blueprint and really started to expand positions in our central office team. So we are very lucky in that, and that has been a huge strength of ours. We do have 48 private provider seats in Frederick County Public Schools. So we're not anywhere near the 50% mark. However, I will say last year we had 24 seats. So we did double those, which is a big deal for us. We have worked really hard with our outreach with our community providers. Unfortunately, 40 of those 48 seats are in one center, and it's the center that had 20 of the seats last year. So we have a superstar that we try to depend on. I have hired the lady that supports her writing her grant to pay for any of our other private providers in Frederick County if they're interested in writing the grant or learning more about the grant. I do want to respond to the conversation that just was had before I started speaking about getting providers to be able to write that grant application. And for me, I don't know that that's the right approach. I think it needs to be a different access point for providers. We have a grant specialist on our team. We manage $14 million worth of grants. Everyone on our team has a certain role in those grants, and to ask a provider, oftentimes a sole director, owner, and teacher to handle the workload that comes along with a grant application and the monitoring that goes along with that is not realistic. And I honestly don't feel like it's fair. So I wish Maryland would really consider that, yes, public schools can write grants, and we do that, and we have systems in place, but our private businesses are not set up the way that we are. I believe they deserve to have the same level of ease, and it's not easy by any means, but the same level of effort that we would have. And I don't think they do. I think it's really different. So Ruby, congratulations to you. I think it takes a really driven, ambitious, somebody that's not going to take no for an answer to be able to get through that grant and manage it on a year-to-year basis. So some of our challenges, and I just hit on a couple with our childcare side because we are very interested in Frederick County, especially with our growth, in getting this mixed delivery system to be something that really happens. I have started doing a lot of research on some other states, New Jersey, Boston, New York, that have entered into mixed delivery systems. It seems like everywhere, one of the big issues is that we're getting the same amount of funding. We're giving the same amount of funding to a small business as we are for a seat in a public school system. And we know that around the state, having that flat fee or that flat rate for per seat is not the same in a large school system as it is in a small business. So one of our asks, so I'm moving past my challenges here because I'm going off on a little tangent about this, but one of our asks is that we look at a different system for funding for our childcare providers. They need a little bit more per seat. They need to have a business that's lucrative and allows them to survive and pay their staff. And you know, when this year started, it was my understanding there was about a month and a half, almost 2 months, where they hadn't received payment from Maryland to pay their staff. And that is detrimental to someone running a small business and the families that that person is employing. So those are challenges and asks. But as I continue to reach out to providers and try to build those relationships, those are some of the main points we're hearing is the grant is way too much work. And then the per pupil seat funding is just not enough to where we can deal with it. Obviously, I'm sure you all have heard the teacher salary is also another big barrier for them. So going back to challenges kind of for Frederick County Public Schools with expanding our full day pre-K, our application is pretty cumbersome because it's an application that you use to enroll for public schools. So that's a pretty extensive process. It's really hard for a lot of our families. We've been looking at some pre-screening tools. It would be really beneficial if the state came up with a common application for pre-K, where regardless of my zip code or what county I reside in, I can access that pre-K application as a family in multiple languages and multiple venues. that is kind of a screener. And then if a family is accepted for pre-K, they can get the support to go through a full application process and kind of meet all the requirements that come along with enrolling a child. Another one of our challenges, and I mentioned it a little bit before, is space. We have moved into 4 of our high schools with full day pre-K. We did get that model up there, Miss Hoover in Washington County. They've been doing it for a while, but there is a really good answer to space for us. Our high schools have always had these mini preschool programs, but we now have full-fledged, full-day pre-K classrooms in 4 of our high schools. We'll be in 3 more next year. Those bring some challenges, but they also meet a lot of needs, and they marry well with Pillar 3, which is our career college readiness pillar that gets our CDA students real lived experience and the hours that they need in a pre-K setting. We have struggled this past year, and my colleagues on the call here, MSDE Early Learning Branch has gone through a lot of transition, and we have not had a state meeting in a year. So as we have a lot of these initiatives coming up, we think there's a sliding scale coming out. We haven't really gotten a lot of guidance and communication on how to start planning. We started our enrollment work in September to be ready for a March opening, because there's a lot of things that need to happen for that. And at this point, we're in a scattered frame of mind with, is there going to be a sliding scale? Families need to know that before they decide to apply for pre-K. So we're hoping for some additional state guidance to really help us along with knowing what everyone's doing and then what they think the state is planning on doing. And then our asks, I said a common application would be really nice. We have a hard time, and it's a difficult position, documenting income for families and verifying income. We know the Maryland Child Care Scholarship Program verifies income for families. And we would really like to see a way that the state could take an approach that's equitable across every single LEA, that there is an income verification system for families, and take that off our secretaries, off our front office staff. It's a big ask, and we know we have been able to centralize our enrollment, and I just hired a registrar. The majority of her job is verifying income and enrolling families for pre-K. We're lucky that we've been able to get that position. But before then, you have a lot of people working with families with very sensitive information and what can be really tough conversations with families. I talked about kind of a needs-based funding formula with our childcare providers, saying that those seat rates maybe not being the same. I believe it's in New Jersey. I did a little bit of kind of looking in. Those providers apply and tell the state how much they would need to be able to engage in this mixed delivery system. The state awards them what they said that they needed in order to continue their running their program. And then at the end, we would love to be able to spend some of our pre-K expansion money on capital improvements. We're out of space, but we can't build anything with that. And we would like to explore having additional funding for transportation so that we can get some of our pre-K kids to other parts of the county when we don't have space in our highly enrolled and over-enrolled schools. So thank you. I know that was more than 3 minutes. Kathy's going to tell you all about our beautiful Judy Centers in Frederick County.
Thanks, Leslie, for kicking us off about Frederick County. I just want to take it back a little bit since refresh everyone's mind what a Judy Center actually is asked to do through its 12 grant components that are reported on. We're looking at and working with families prenatally through age 5. In Frederick County, I'm proud to say that we had 5 Judy Centers last year with expansion to 6 this year. And in those 5 Judy Centers, we served over 1,200 children plus or so. Over 140 early intervention screenings were completed by the Judy Center. And when we talk about early childhood and we talk about trying to intervene early, those screenings are super important. And they happen through the relationships that those staff members and the Judy Centers have with the families, where families are coming to play groups and family engagement events, and they build this relationship with families in our schools to help them feel comfortable enough to talk about those needs their families have. 49 of those children served in Frederick County Judy Centers were McKinney-Vento and identified as homeless. Also, another important, of course, item for us is to making sure families are connected to those resources. We partnered with Farm to School Frederick to provide fresh fruits and vegetables for families through Frederick Farms this year. We are outreaching in the community to find more families, providing case management, home visiting, play groups, workshops, adult education, and family engagement, all through one grant, $330,000, to provide the staffing for two Judy Center outreach coordinators and program administrators to do that work. And that funding's really remained flat for Judy Centers at $330,000. As you know, cost of living, everything else has gone up, but the fundings remain the same. Also, we have one of our Judy Centers, one of the largest schools in Maryland, Waverly Elementary, serving almost 1,000 children in that school. That means that there are 1,000 children, 0 to 5, waiting to enter Waverly Elementary. We've provided funding for 3 Judy Center staff members there. We also have schools at 600, 500 students, and we only have 2 Judy Center staff people there. So one of my asks for Judy Center would be to consider what that means. Is it a per pupil allotment for Judy Centers based on size? We just know that there's a lot of work to be done with families, and families are asking for it. I think that's really the beautiful thing. When we survey families, we ask them, what are your needs? Bedtime routines comes up. How do you deal with a toddler tantrum? Time to toilet train. Now what do I do? Oh, my child just took a bite out of a kid at a child care center. What am I going to do? How can I help my child? How can I regulate myself? These are all common parenting things, and the Judy Center is there to help wrap it up. One of the things we noticed when we expanded to Tuscarora this year is, and we're very excited about on the child care side, is that there are 4 Aspire providers who are interested in partnering with the Judy Center, as well as another KinderCare that's in that group. So in Frederick County, we have 6 child care MOUs with providers, but only one of those is a family provider. And we would like to expand to more, but there are restrictions from the state as to how we can partner with child care providers and the qualifications those providers need to meet before we can offer them an MOU and provide them more assistance and support and resources. Our early childhood department does a great job of offering through the R4K grant lots of opportunities for learning in the evening, and the Judy Center also provides opportunities for partners to learn in the evenings or on days when they have mandated staff training. We've noticed that's another place to really connect. So we're hoping to expand with more family providers in Tuscarora. One of the other limits with Judy Centers is the requirement that they reside in a Title I neighborhood. Neighborhood school. And what we're finding in Frederick in particular, due to the size of our county, is that we have a lot of rural needs. So most of our Judy Centers are very much in the Frederick City area, which also has its needs, but there's a different kind of need in our rural communities. And the resources aren't really there for them. But because they don't meet the social vulnerability index from CDC, we're not able to provide Judy Center services out there. So maybe some relook at what does it really mean to have those local needs in the community for Judy Centers in order to be established there. I think one of my proudest things I'm happy to say that's happening in Frederick County is an opportunity open to all women who give birth in Frederick Hospital, and that is universal newborn home visiting. That came out of our Early Childhood Advisory Committee. It was a wish and an ask so many years before COVID that we just kept plucking away at it, thinking about it, wondering about it. How do we provide that funding? And then the ARPA funding, Frederick County Health Department. Hold on, I'm not going to name them all. Frederick County Government, our local ECAC, all work together in this beautiful partnership, and the opportunity to start this universal home visiting program through Family Connects International. And it is amazing. 70% of the people who give birth in Frederick Hospital are taking advantage of that first nurse visit once they go home within the first 4 weeks of delivery. It is an amazing opportunity that then those Frederick nurses are connecting. Get it? Family Connects. They're connecting those families with the resources in Frederick County. They are providing referrals directly to Judy centers so that now those new mamas can participate in play groups. They can participate in mommies and babies, moms groups. There's so many opportunities for the home visiting to be able to be picked up. And if they're not in a Judy Center location and they still have resources and needs, that's where Frederick County's strength and its partnerships has been able to help connect those families. The nurses know who to call if a mom needs diapers, if a family member would like adult education, and they're doing that immediate handoff, as well as connecting them to the childcare resources. Oh, you have an infant now. Let's connect you with Childcare Locate and our local childcare resource center. So it's an amazing opportunity. The other big opportunity and strength in Frederick County is also born out of our Early Childhood Advisory Council. We get a lot done in that group. We've been talking about since before COVID that we needed to do a child care market research study. And because of the, again, thinking, asking, wondering, and waiting, and asking for money all the time, we took advantage of the ARPA funding, and our Office of Children and Families in Frederick County Government was received an award for money to do that child care market study. And is just completing this month with some family focus groups, but they've already done business focus groups, child care provider focus groups. They'll be, like I said, completing that focus group this month with our families. And then in February, that report will be available about Frederick County. So we're really excited to be able to share that information with the state in looking at what do our child care providers need, as well as what do our families need, and what are businesses able and willing to do. So it should be able to wrap up a lot of really great things for us as far as information. And then it'll be the how do we implement a lot of those suggestions that come from that report and that study. I'm happy to talk Judy Center, Universal Newborn Home Visiting, or Child Care Market Studies at any time. So feel free to contact us in Frederick County. Leslie and I could talk to you for another hour at least about all of our work that we're doing and the love we have for it. So thank you very much for letting us talk tonight.
I would love to jump in just super quick to say, wow, and kudos. And Leslie and Kathleen, you probably gave me about 23 talking points that I'm not going to be able to fit in here. But way to go in thinking about what our kids need and how we support families and fill those gaps and catch our kids early. Our state is amazing in its diversity and in how everybody has different needs and different priorities. But at the same time, we have commonalities. And so we're learning from each of the different districts. People are moving in different directions on different things, and great things are happening. So I watch some faces on here, and I have a feeling that some ideas that were shared are going to be shared tomorrow across the state in some other places. Because what we're recognizing is there's small wins. There's ways we can connect people and share knowledge that exists in other places, and borrow a quick idea and reach out and say, hey, Kathleen, I heard you and I get it that you know what you're doing. And how hard was that to do? And how much money? And how many people? That you can share something so somebody else doesn't have to start from the very beginning. And that's what educators do. We're here for our kids and our families. And this meeting has been absolutely phenomenal for me again. I do want to, what I hear is things are happening here and there and over here and over there. Questions are coming up, needs are coming up. I have some answers. I have some clarifications. We want to improve the communication flows. So, Leslie, you mentioned some really great things and stood up for the private folks and said, hey, it's different. The systems are different. That did come up. And when it came up in our convening, other organizations like Head Start said, oh, we could help. We do this. What if we create some things? So one of the recommendations that we're trying to kind of figure out is how do we tap into everybody? Like this is collaborative. It's a whole team effort. And it's really important work. So again, I can't thank you both enough. It is clear that your team is very invested and is removing barriers to get things done, to find our kids, support our families, and make this work. So I'm literally texting Rachel Heisen saying, Blueprint's happening. Like it's happening. It's not easy work. We all knew that when it happened, we all knew that this takes thinking and time, and we're going to encounter things we don't have answers to. And so, Ruby, my request would be, let's keep talking about how do we funnel the answers? Where do we compile the information? My partner here, Lisa Armstrong, we're working on notes to make sure that we leave each meeting with action steps that are for us so that we don't drop something and not follow up. We have partners on a communication team that we can help get you some of those resources with some common answers. And what I heard tonight, we need to share this with everybody. We didn't have 24 counties on here. I don't know how many are listening, but there was great stuff that we want to share with everybody. So once again, on behalf of the AIB board and staff, we really appreciate our advisory committee, one, for pulling this together. We appreciate the guests, the variety of perspectives, and how much work is happening. It's a hard time in education. We appreciate you coming every day with fresh ideas and saying, what do our kids need? How do we do this? And so my heart is beaming tonight, and we got some work to do, and we're back at it tomorrow. But Ruby, I'll pass it back to you, and thank you all so much.
Rachel, we have Crystal here and Imani from Baltimore City. They joined us. So they will talk about Baltimore City, and then maybe Jana can say a few things, and Linda later on. Go ahead, Crystal. Or Imani.
Hi, my apologies. I'm trying to find that mute button. So in Baltimore City, we have 224 pre-K classrooms. And so we're serving about 4,000 students, pre-K students. We are rebounding, of course, from COVID. So that's taking us obviously a little while, but we're very excited that every year since the pandemic, our enrollment has continued to go up. I think we are maybe one of the few counties that has been doing full day pre-K for a while now. So since I think maybe around 2012, we've been doing a full day pre-K exclusively. So we've been very excited to continue that. So it has made kind of meeting the Blueprint requirements in some aspects has been easy, and then some aspects has been challenging. I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate private providers when we're serving a very large number of those 4-year-olds has been a little bit challenging. Right now, there are about, I think maybe 180 private seats. So of 4,000 students, 180 is, I think maybe like 4 or 5 or 6%. So we're nowhere near that 50% that we're supposed to get to. But that is something that we are trying to work on. I think it is challenging for private providers to apply for those grants. Needing to have staff who have the bachelor's degree, the pay parity that should come with that, but that does not always come with that. So I think staffing is really a challenge. And then again, once you get staff who are certified, coming to the school system becomes a little bit more attractive because there's a significant pay jump. So we understand that folks are going to deal with that. And so we don't quite have the answers as to how to solve that one for everyone. So that is one thing that has been a challenge. We are currently working through trying to figure out accreditation for all of our classrooms, and working through our paraeducators We did kind of request or ask for or really advocate for our pairs being able to be grandfathered in. We have many pairs who have been working within our programs for upwards of 30 and 40 years. And so to have to tell those folks who've been in the position for 30 or 40 years to go back to school and to get a new degree or certification just kind of felt has been a bit of a challenge. So trying to stand something up that we can support our paraeducators and getting from point A to point B is what we've been working on this year. It has taken a while because, again, we have 224 of these paras, but we want to make sure that we are being really thoughtful and intentional in how that work goes. Also for MSE accreditation and Excels, the process is very individualized and school-based. So trying to support schools from the central office has been challenging. Every single school has to have their own, kind of binder. And so we find ourselves uploading the same documents over and over and over and over again. The curriculum is the same in every single classroom. So we have to upload it every single time. So those are just some of the things that, as we think about how to meet all of the requirements in Pillar 1, there are times where it's very clunky, and trying to do so from a large system perspective is really, really challenging. For example, I've had to use my R4K grant right now to literally hire someone to support our schools with just doing the uploading. I don't know if that's the best use of the funds, but it is the best use of that person's time because that's what we need to be able to go through. So those are just some of the ways in which these requirements are really impacting us at a large school system level. We are working on the mixed delivery work with our ECAC. So the ECAC is kind of hosting a work group to really lead the mixed delivery work because it is not just a Baltimore City schools thing, it's a all of Baltimore City thing. And so we are kind of slowly getting that off the ground, trying to really make sure that people are all involved and invested in this work because it's going to impact all of us. And just trying to make sure that we're making the best decisions for our families, not for, individual programs. And then I know we were sharing some stuff about Judy centers. So in Baltimore City, we have 14 Judy centers. And I think we have the most of any of the LEAs. So we opened up our first Judy center in 2001. So we are pretty well established in kind of how we manage those programs, the $330,000. Some of the challenges that we have encountered this year are really around those catchment zones. We can only serve students who are within the catchment zone of a school, and we are a highly transit and highly transient city. So when we have students who kind of move from place to place, or students who live, on the other side of the street of a catchment area, no longer being able to serve those kids, even if they are, likely going to come to your school, really presents a challenge for us. There have been more kind of rules and regulations around kind of not being as involved in what's happening with your school age students or your pre-K and K students, and really pushing down to the 0 to 3, which we understand why they do that, of course, because we want to find kids who aren't enrolled in the school yet, but it becomes really challenging when we're using school system dollars to really invest in students who aren't quite enrolled with us yet. And I would say another challenge that we're having is now there's more requirements coming around as to like what the space is supposed to look like for the Judy Center. And so being in a system that has some old and well-established schools, even if the need is there, we are finding ourselves not being able to put a Judy Center in that building because we don't have the physical space. And that just feels like it shouldn't be the barrier to being able to serve kids because we don't have a desk or because we don't have a closet in which would constitute a Judy Center. So we are making it work. We're figuring it out every single day. Our Judy Center has served about, I think we served about 3,000 students last year, 3,000 students and families. So we're very excited to continue to do that work and then continue to expand that as we go with the blueprint. So those are just some of the highlights, I guess, for Baltimore City.
Thank you. Linda, you have any comments?
Yeah, well, Baltimore City, I grew up in Baltimore City, and I'm a proud product of Baltimore City Public Schools. And I worked for Baltimore City for a while. So it's wonderful to hear from you. And just to see all of the wonderful things that are going on in Charles County, St. Mary's, Frederick. I'm missing somebody. No, I think I caught them all. What I really like also is for our folks from the AIB, you're hearing what's being said and taking all of that back. And that's so nice to hear that. And that there's something that's going to be done, because we've all been part of committees before where your input is asked for and you're like, am I really doing anything with this or not? But it just feels like that things are happening. And bottom line, what is best for our kids and what is best for the families and the providers? So I'm just thrilled listening to everything that's going on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Last we have Imani here. Imani is she can introduce herself, but she's going to bring some fresh perspective from a center provider and why she's not doing the pre-K. Go ahead, Imani.
Good evening, everyone. And listening to all of the different counties and the things that you are doing, it was quite interesting for me as a childcare provider. I am the executive director of Joshua's Place Early Learning and Enrichment Center. Here I wear the hat of the executive director, but I am also a registered nurse who's been in pediatrics. So childcare, child development, all those things are very important to me and how we make that work. As many of you spoke, there were many examples over here writing down stuff that people were saying. And so there was many challenges that providers like myself have when it comes to try to apply for the grant. Some of it could be the issue about not knowing how to do a grant, but that's not the issue for everyone. And I wouldn't say is necessarily the issue for all. Time is a big piece of it, because even if you know how to do it, or if you're learning, it takes time. And as I believe it was Leslie who said it, we are the sole person. Mm-hmm. I am the everything. I'm the registration person. I am the parent coordinator, family engagement person. I am the teacher supervisor. I am the one who manages the kids. I don't physically in a day have enough time to do things that are required. And then when we get to the money, Leslie said it again. Some of you all may have said it. I got on a little late myself. The money doesn't match for what we need to do. It's just not working for us. I'm also one of the board of directors for the Maryland State Child Care Association. So me and all my colleagues across the state are echoing the same thing that I am saying right now. Sometimes in looking at what is expected, it's not adding up for us, and we need alternative pathways for many of the things that are required in the blueprint, even to the point of being able to the thought just left my head, but we need those alternative pathways when it comes to getting the required education. And I'm not saying we don't need it. I think it's great, but everybody might not need it. And again, I come from a medical background. In a medical background, we have nursing assistants, we have LPNs, and we have RNs. And we could kind of scaffold the same thing when it comes to early learning. You can still have your 90-hour people. If we don't do that anymore, that's fine. But the CDA, then your degree at a AA or bachelor's, and then your master's level, the requirements need to be so that, and in order for us to even obtain some of those higher levels. Now, myself, I have 2 degrees, but it was before I even got into childcare. But in order to do that, it could take a provider up to 10 years to finally get that degree. Most of the time, they got to do their teacher training and stuff in a place that's not even a childcare setting. So that doesn't really seem to match up with what we really need. And then the other thing that just meeting the experience that we have, using our work life experience, just as Crystal pointed out, she has parents who've been doing it for 20, 30 years. We have providers who have been doing it and getting great results. If we look at KRA results in different places, at least for us, we see childcare providers are doing pretty well. We might not have all those things, and I'm not saying we don't need them, but it doesn't have to be the end all be all. So we need to really look at the different ways childcare providers can enter in, get credit for what they've already been doing, and then not feel like, oh, you're less than. Not that that's what you all intended to be, but that's the reality. And then even to be able to partner with a Judy Center, we got to do A, B, C, D, and E. And it's like, well, we need to rethink the system. And the system, if it's working well for those, it's meant to work well for. Because for the rest of us, it's not working as well. And we want it to work well. We want to partner with our schools, and many providers do. There are schools that my children go to in this area that I'm in, and they all do well. The schools know my center knows the schools, but that's not the case for everyone. And in Baltimore City, just like Crystal said, they have 220 something classrooms. We have over 300 providers, home and centers in Baltimore City. It is magnanimous to try to get everybody to get on that page and be able to do what is required. I think it's great, me, myself, personally, when my children leave my center, I know they're ready to go to school and enter into kindergarten and be ready to learn. Myself and Crystal co-chair our Baltimore City ECAC. We've done a lot of work. We've brought intentional partners to the table. We created this blueprint work group. We have consultants we're working with because we need to figure out how we can make it work. And one of the biggest challenges is not just with childcare, but even Head Start and even pre-K. Everybody's not going to get everything they want out of this. So how do we begin to not take it personal and be like, okay, let's compromise here, there, and everywhere. But there's some things we all need. And so the challenge is real. And it's real because of finances, it's real because of time, and it's real because it also at times seems to place providers in a space where, well, we know you're there and you did good work, but we need you to do this in order to really do good work. And we're doing the work. We are doing the work. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much. And sorry for going over. I think we're over our time, right, Rachel?
Oh, Ruby, we're going to need more time. Do we need 75-minute meetings? There's so much happening in the early grades areas that I just can't say thank you enough for all of the information shared again. And Imani, you're absolutely spot on. And I have good news. Like, there's things I could tell you that the things you raised have been heard. We heard some options presented by some of the teams that you referenced, people who were at the convening. The best thing I can tell you is that our aim and our hope in January, so like, as you all know, terrifyingly, that's like 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away. We are going to keep that convening going because we need to keep hearing from all of the voices. And that's where the collective power of solving these problems is. They can be raised, we can brainstorm, we can hear from around the state. We're watching other states, we're looking at other models, but we need to just jointly share all this information and figure out who needs what. So I have good info, like call me tomorrow. I can tell you some things that came up as a result of that convening and perspectives raised by your colleagues that are going to address some of those things that you said. People are coming to us with degrees from other countries. We need to recognize that. People are coming to us with 20 years of experience. That is valuable. They know how to support children's emotional and academic development at the foundational age. We want to respect that. And we've heard you. We really do. And that's the intention of the AIB. We're here to collaborate with everybody and to help build the bridges and identify the barriers. And so again, to everybody on this call tonight, this is the power of the work. When we hear and get quick access to what the hurdles are, there's not always a quick answer, but at least we can hear it and we can start the process to get the answer. Your commitment to the process, to the kids, and your willingness to help us get it right is what we need. We can't envision all of the implementation hurdles when we start crafting the plan. We envision them right when we feel them and we bump into them. But we're committed. Our kids need this. Our teachers need this. Our families need this. Our state needs this. And so my heart is smiling again. I don't know that matters for anybody else, but Ruby, we may need slightly longer meetings. As we think about maybe 75 minutes, because there's so many perspectives to hear and it's really, really helpful information. So I would love to just put it out there. You know, I love email, folks. So I am Rachel V period Amstutz. And Lisa, if you could drop that in the chat for anybody on the meeting tonight, and anybody listening in, feel free, email us your ideas. Lisa can also drop her chat in there and has wonderful experience with both early childhood and special education. But we want the feedback, we want the partnership, and we want to be able to continue the support and the networking. So we're open to any ideas, and we're here to dig in, roll up our sleeves, and keep supporting for our kids.
Thank you so much. Together we can do this. It's not only the AIB, MSDE, state, but everyone. If we all pitch in together, we can have a successful blueprint. So for our next meeting, I think I'd want to invite like the Office of Early Intervention and maybe kind of see what are the supports out there for the special needs or also for Title I. So if anybody would like to come, everybody's welcome, and just, give Rachel or myself a shout out, and we will get you in the meeting, and we'd like to hear from everybody. Thank you so much. And any last thoughts from Gina, Linda, Rainia, or Sakshi?
I just want to thank everybody again for coming. I mean, I think this is also valuable to hear from everybody else, and just know that like all of the struggles that, to hear everybody's struggles and everybody's challenges are basically the same all around the state. And, I think that we are just going to keep learning from each other. Like Leslie said, they came and visited our pre-K and our high school, and they took it and ran with it down there. And I know Frederick is growing like crazy. Every time we go down there for my son's soccer games, I'm like, man, they keep building houses. Everywhere you look, there's houses. So, but like I said, they came to visit. So I just think it's just such a valuable partnership between all of us, because we're all going through the same thing. So it's just great to hear from everybody, and just thank you all for your time tonight, for coming to our meeting. And, we really appreciate it.
Linda?
I would echo just what Gina said. Thank you. Thank you to everybody.
Do you want to wrap up, Dr. Miller?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and just reiterate what Rachel said. It's small wins, and we talked in the beginning of our meetings about sharing small wins. So I look forward to the AIB creating that communication tool to share the small wins so that everybody knows what's happening across the state. And with that, I wish everyone a good evening, and we will see members back here next month and guests as well. So thank you and have a great evening.
And happy holidays.
Oh, yes. Happy holidays.
Miller, it's going to be 2024 when we see everybody again. My brain cannot process this.
No, get some rest.
We'll
happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Shawanda or Lisa, could you stop the live stream?